This morning, before I begin, I would like to give a shout out to our seniors who went with Penview Christian School's 6th and 7th graders to outdoor classroom last week. My sources tell me that you were absolutely wonderful. Thanks for being terrific role models. I am especially happy to hear this since so many of you were from child development class. Way to put theory into practice. Excellent work. So, I don't really have one metaphor for my life, like a sword, like Mr. Lehman spoke about the other week in chapel. But in the past several years, I have chosen a word, or maybe the word has chosen me. A word that came to me and was important to me, at least for a time. The first word came 6 years ago. Mike and I were in the process of liquidating our business, selling our home of 23 years, and purchasing a new one. Each of these things could be stressful on its own, but they seemed to emerge all at one time. I remember thinking, how much more can we do? And then thinking, it's time to be grateful. And so grateful I was. And as we went through the house inspection, looking for a new home, deciding to build a home, and discovering that things were just falling into place, I made my first of several gratitude lists. I still have that list, and it's filled with items about the new house, where it was located, how the kitchen met all of my needs and more, and what the master bedroom and bath and closets looked like. All good, and pretty easy to list out. My heart was filled with gratitude. 2 years later, it was a little harder to be grateful. My mother was sick. She was old. She was pushing 90 and ready to move on to heaven. But it would take her a couple of years. She suffered through some painful hospital experiences and a lot of nausea and vomiting. It was hard to be upbeat, so Mom and I worked at it together. My mother loved the Psalms, and so she chose 5 or 6 that she read really often. One was Psalm 100, and it continues to be a favorite of mine. It's only 5 verses, so let me read it to you. Psalm 100. Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations. When Mom passed away in January of 2014, it was tough. She had been a rock for me for 50 plus years, and we had needed each other a lot, especially in the last 20 years or so. So I really missed her. I knew I had to do something positive to remember her and to move on. I purchased a devotional book, Something About Being Thankful in All Situations, at the Care and Share, of course, in Souderton, and reworked my gratitude list. This time it was pages of everything, from a hot cup of coffee at 5 o'clock in the morning, in case you don't know, I am really a morning person, to purple crocuses emerging from the soil in March, to a good book, to a walk with my dog. Wonderful things to think about when missing a mother and a friend. Gratitude it had been, and gratitude it would be, until this past fall. In September, I was ready for a new word. But what would it be? Then, out of nowhere, a word emerged. My word for this school year, and for the next little while, is rhythm. Our daughters are grown and live elsewhere. Cece is graduating next month and moving to California. And Mike and I are ready for the next rhythm of our lives. I've chosen Ecclesiastes 3, 1-8 for this season. Let me read a little bit of it. If you're familiar with the Bible, and even if you're not, you will get the cadence. So this is Ecclesiastes 3, 1-5, a time for everything. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. a time to embrace and a time to refrain. And the verses continue. Scholars think that possibly King Solomon wrote this book in the Bible, and much of it is pretty melancholy, even depressing. But I choose to think of it as a rhythm, a cadence, and to think what times I would like to add to the list. A time to hang on and a time to let go. Seniors, that's for you. A time to walk and a time to run. A time to bake bread and a time to buy it when I just don't have time to make it. A time to hang out with family and a time to make new friends. And the list goes on. Some are more meaningful than others, but thought about and written down with an idea, a message, for this time, this season of my life. I encourage all of you, but especially you seniors that are graduating, to claim a word, a metaphor, a symbol for your life. Something that allows you to be true to yourself and to what you believe, and to return to that word or that idea often. You might be surprised at how meaningful it becomes. Thank you.